So now that we've done that, we are going to save our drawing again. And we're going to begin by actually tracing the property line, which is the heavy black line here. And that's going to be on this layer. I'm going to just quickly set these colors to red, and I believe the line type, we're going to go in here to manage the line type for this. In the Windows version, it's a little bit different. If anybody has questions, you're welcome to stop by my studio in King Pavilion, or I'm sure Carl, Scott, or Paul can help you as well in class. Right now, just the default continuous line type is available. I'm going to go to Load to get more options, and I'm going to look at the sheet here real quick. It is the dash dot times 2 that we want for the property line. So that's going to be this one right here. Is it? Yes, that's what we want. And I'm going to hit Add. And then I'm going to select that as my line type. Now, if I go over here to line, I can do a standard line. But what actually might be more helpful for the property line is if you select the polyline, or the command for that would be pline. And what this actually does is it creates a continuous line that is all one object, so that if you ever want to select it and rescale it or erase it, it's just one selection versus going around and clicking all of your individual segments. I'm just going to do this real quickly. I'm going to start down here at the bottom right corner, and I'm just going to trace this really roughly. Please do this more accurately, or Carl and Paul will probably have you redo it. So there's my line. I was actually on the wrong layer. Bad layer management. So note, make sure you know what layer you're on when you start drawing. So I want to move this line to another layer. And one way that's pretty easy to do that I like to use actually is to go to that layer I need. And usually you'll have segments drawn on every layer. So if we just have a segment drawn for this property line layer somewhere in our drawing, we can do MA, enter, which stands for match properties. And if we select the line that we like, so the one we want it to be first, then it gives us a little paintbrush. And essentially we're painting those properties onto our other object. And that's a really quick, easy way to change the properties to match another existing object in your drawing. You can also go into the Properties menu and physically just change the layer of the object over here. I've just gotten in the habit of doing it the other way. So now we're going to start actually by tracing some contours. So we're going to go to our existing contour layer here, and I believe it's green, and I'm going to go to Manage again to load another line type, and we are just going to go to dash. I'll go to 0.5, use whatever your sheet says, and hit OK. So we are ready to go with our contours. For this, we want to use a spline to trace the contours. So we are going to type spline, enter. Of course, we could always come over here, find it in our toolbar. Getting used to using the commands is a really good way to become more efficient with the program. So I'm going to start here with this contour right here. I'm not going to be tracing all the contours. You guys get to have all that fun. And you're just going to begin clicking points along the line. Now again, you could click every one of these dashes, but that's going to put in an amazing amount of data into your file. And you really don't need to be that accurate. You just want to be as accurate as you need to be in order to make it work, but not have excess data in your file. So as I'm going here, we can say, for an example, I misclick a point, and I'm going to pretend like the contour ends here and hit enter to end that contour. Now if I didn't like that point, I can select the line and there are these control vertices, which I can grab and drag in order to adjust my spline. If I wanted to be, slightly more accurate on some of these, object snap is one thing that can trick you up. I'm going to undo that. I'll show you down here. This is the object snap right down here. F3 on Windows toggles that on and off, but you can also come down here to do that. So I'm going to turn that off right now and come in here and grab my vertice and drag it where I want it to be. These two got connected together. Great example for a tutorial. I'm going to show you one trick here. Just grab the normal line, and I'm going to come in, and I'm going to draw a line here. And I'm going to type TR, enter, and I'm going to select the line that I want to cut with. I'm going to be trimming off, TR is trim. I'm going to be trimming off the part of the line that I don't like. So I'm going to select this line, and then right-click on it, and then select the part of the other line that I want to trim off. So what I've done is I've effectively cut off the bad portion of my spline. Then I'm going to select this line that I cut with and hit E, enter, and that erases that line. I can come back down to my object snap and continue tracing my splines for the contours. If we went to the end of this one, say we got to the end, and we probably want this one to be a continuous contour, so we can select both, type join, and we are going to, it tells us to select the contours that we want to join, and hit enter, and now we have one continuous line, which is much, again, easier to manage in your file and just good practice for keeping your CAD files as clean as possible. So that's an example, and you'll keep tracing the lines as we go, and then just as we XREF'd in the contours, you can XREF in the JPEG image, the aerial image of the file, and overlay that in order to trace in the roads and other various aspects of the site. And I think that's about it for external references and tracing contours. These are just the 5-foot contours. You'll get to the 1-foot contours a little bit later on. So again, you do want to be accurate on these because you are going to have 4 contours in between here that are going to need to line up. So take your time. Right now is the best time to get familiar with AutoCAD because you're only going to get busier later and it's only going to get more complex from here. But that being said, AutoCAD is just drawing on a computer. It's just learning how to use the tools. And in AutoCAD, just about anything you want to do, you can type in a command, usually the word. So today we entered an external reference, or a JPEG, into our file. In order to check that link, like I mentioned earlier, if we type external, or I'm sorry, XREF, XREF, as an abbreviation, and hit enter, that pulls up our external reference menu. And we see our master file name, which is our DWG, and then our image references. And we have our 5-foot contours here. If we were to add in other DWG references, we would see those under a different heading. So again, this is our overview for that. And if you have any questions, let me know. And make sure you continually save your files.